All right, let's see what we got going on here. We're live, so welcome. I'm going to pull up on the computer to see if I could get a monitor, see what's going on. There we go. All right. Well, welcome to the Lighting Lab. So I had a few questions the other evening after I shared how I was copying negatives and making prints, and here's an example. Here's a project, all film, right? This is from 1990, all this film. I should check, how's the audio? It looks like it's a little loud, hitting it a little loud. Is it peaking? Can I get a thumbs up if somebody's out there? Let me know about the audio. Hey David, how's it going? How's the audio? Dory, welcome. Thanks for joining in. Is the audio doing okay? Just want to check it out here. Let's see, I had this there. Trying to rearrange so I could see the comments. Getting back in here. The audio seems good. Hey David. All right, Jay Bryant. So yeah, here's kind of this old project. Kind of run through things a little bit here. So this was taken 1990, right? We used to have to type our captions out in quadruple. Here would be like a runner's envelope where we would put film in, take our notes. You can see the little twin check development marks there, because I was developing film on the road. Seems like I'm still peaking on the audio, so let me check the audio level here. I'm just going to drop that down so I'm not over peaking on the volume. Bring it down a little bit more. Test. How's that running? Still hitting it. There we go. That's better, right? Don't want to peak it. Can you hear me? Still going well? Just want to make sure. I was using the wrong cable on the mic pack. So I was using the telephone for the iPhone, going live that way into the mic pack. So getting back into it, this was for a project, a story I was doing on the 50th anniversary of Sturgis, and also the Hell's Henchman. One of the Hell's Henchmen was a film runner for us at the paper. So, I've got all the notes, the assignment, our dot matrix printer with the first draft of the story, right? All that stuff. So it was an amazing road trip and opportunity, and I got picked because I ride. I've been riding my whole life, and our film runner, who was also worked in the preset room where the page design would go up, and he would actually use hot type and mock up the pages at the paper for edition, was Weird Harold. And this is an actual image that made it into the paper. So this here is Weird Harold right there. So one of the road stops we did. And then we would actually manually type things out, caption it, and would go on the back of the print. And then the prints would go to the camera room to get photographed. So all these prints, were made from color negative film. In fact, here's a color shot from Sturgis 1990, right? So what I wanted to share with you is the process that I'm using for taking, your archive. If you used a lot of film, doesn't matter what size or format film, you could do this technique for getting it into the system and using it. Film scanners are great. Good detail, but they take forever and they're painful. So what I got set up here is I'll activate a live camera and give you the details of this, is a copy stand, and I'll put links to this. Is all from B&H. So it's a copy stand with an R5, an EF 100mm macro lens, a light table, and then a negative carrier, right? So you start going back to old school days, you get the loop out, and you start checking your images. A lot of these images have never been printed before. So I'm going to swipe over to the other camera and we'll turn this on. Here you go. So this is the view through the copy camera. And it's on the light table, so you can actually see the image, right? So that's what I'm going to be taking a photograph of. And I use a cable release so that we're nice and steady. We don't introduce any motion. I use cotton gloves, an anti-static brush, a little canned air, clean the dust off. I don't miss film for one of those very reasons, and film is not as sharp as digital, you know, but to each his own. But I did shoot a lot of it. So we take the photograph, right? We've captured it, and then what we do is I get it into the computer. So first step, as I outlined in my workflow yesterday, was photo mechanic. So I have a folder of images where I've been dumping all my negatives in that I plan on putting on our fine art store. So these are all things that I've copied. So you can see there's black and white film. This is a black and white negative of, oh, let's get this one here. Sorry, camera one. There we go. This is a black and white negative of John Mellencamp doing an acoustic set at the China Club in Chicago in like 1992. You know, so have all these classic images, and only one or two of them have been published. You know, this is 2 1/4 film, right? Kodak 2 1/4 film, created using a Mamiya 7. So that's a little color negative film. This is black and white film from a picture story I did on little kids boxing. It's probably one of the most perfect shoots I've ever had, where all the moments, everything came together. I mean, it was spot on, one of my most favorite picture stories I've ever done. Some great moments. And then here we are today. So here's the image that we just digitally captured and scanned in. So you could see that. Where are my comments? Here we go. There's the comments. Cool, now I could see it. Frank, definitely doing the Eagle Safari again. You know it, brother. In fact, I got some new locations if you're really interested now that you're retired up in Alaska, where the Eagle photos are just crazy, crazy cool. Hey, Jay, how you doing? Nice to see you here. Dory, Dory, the volume's a bit low now? Okay, I was over peaking, so I don't want to crush it, so let me bring the volume back up. I'm just hitting the yellow level now, so let me know if that volume is okay. Jumping back over, here's photo mechanic. So this is the initial capture. I took the card, downloaded it, ingested it, and as I shared before, everything is captioned. So when this image gets uploaded to our store, all this information will be embedded and in the caption. So that field of information is there. So once I bring it into photo mechanic, I ingest it, do all those sets of things, then I will quit photo mechanic and I will bring it into Lightroom, which I've already done. Let's see, Frank is in. Hey Susan, how you doing? Susanna, it's been a while, man. It was a fun night. We were hanging out in Spain. I was just looking through some photos recently of that night where we were all out in front of that big graffiti of the eyeball at night. It was a rainy night in Spain. That was fun. So here is the negative image, right? And here's a couple that I've already worked on to clean them up. So it comes in as a negative, and I'll walk through this process with you. So we'll take the first image, right? Here's the actual strip of the recent import. Now you can work it in Lightroom, and all I was doing was bracketing the exposure, because remember, everything's inverse. If it's a negative, if you underexpose it, you know, it's going to be dark, but then when you get in here and start working with your adjustments, when you bring exposure down, it actually brings exposure up, and you'll see what I mean here. So we're going to take this image, and the first thing we're going to do is set the color balance. So what we do is grab our eyedropper and put it somewhere where there isn't a lot of information. Usually I put it in the edge bar frame of the color negative, and that neutralizes the color. Next, I have a plugin that I've been using which takes a lot of the heavy lifting out of the equation than trying to adjust all your sliders in Lightroom, and it does a much better job. It has scanner model profiles, it has film profiles in it, so it gets you dialed in really quick. And that's Negative Lab Pro. So I can put links to this in the live when I'm done. So our source, of course, is a digital camera. We're not using a scanner at all, so it's a camera. Now, you could pick the basic for your converter, meaning the color model, and it tells you here, it walks right through it, you know, what that's going to be for your basic. Then you have a profile for a Frontier scanner. Frontier and Noritsu were some of the best scanners when we were doing film days, and probably still are today. Your saturation is here. You can go default, you could go low, you could go medium, you could go high, but I'm going to stick with default for now. And you could even go black and white. So we could do that just for one, because I've already done the process on the color. So let's see what this would look like in black and white. So we're going to hit black and white, and we're going to say convert the negative. So that's actually crunching it now in Negative Lab. All right, so it's black and white. Now we have our sliders here. And these sliders actually make it a lot easier because they work more intuitively than the sliders in Lightroom. So we could say, okay, what do we want to do? We want to work on the midtones, highlights, shadows, whatever the case may be. So first thing I like to do is play around with our tonal. So this is actually kind of a tonal curve. So lab standard, cinematic log, you can see how things are changing. Lab soft, right? Lab hard. We could play with the highlights, highlights hard, right? Bring things up. So it's just kind of a good idea to click through these to get a good baseline starting point from which you want to work with. Everything so far has been really dark. So I'm going to go back to standard, lab standard, right? And we could just start brightening the image from here and just bring the tones up. So let me see, any questions yet? No questions? All right, so I'll keep processing this image a little bit. And we could change things here for our, if this was a color image, we could go warm tone, Kodak, standard, Fuji, or custom. You could create and save a custom tone. So it's really not going to have any effect since it's black and white. So we're going to keep playing with the brightness of the image. So I believe that's pretty good. Add some contrast. That's looking good. We could pop the whites a little bit. Nice. And bring up the darks. That's a great place to start, right? So that looks pretty cool to me. I'm going to leave the sharpening as is, but you even have sharpening options here. You could do scanner sharpen. It'll give you a preview of it. And these just adjust the sharpening levels in Lightroom. So we'll leave that as set, and we'll apply those changes. So now we could actually start manipulating it in Lightroom. And as you can see, even though I did my best to eliminate the dust, film always has a bunch of dust, and that's one of the things I really don't miss about it. So we're going to go over here, grab a brush, and start cloning out those dusts. So here's a little trick in Lightroom. If you check on visual spots, instead of trying to seek out all the spots in the sky, you can actually see them now. So now you just got to go through, and I'm going to hit never so that I could just spot away on all this dust. And this is a quick and easy way to eliminate the dust spots on the negative without having to bring it into Photoshop. And you could do this with your regular digital files. It's just a great way to see any of the dust, sensor dust, imperfections, whatever is going on in the file. There's some dust right there. And you can see, zooming in, that's the texture of grain in the sky, right? So when people talk about noise and digital these days, I'm like, yeah, it doesn't equate at all to film. So this was photographed using a Canon F1 with a motor drive and a 200mm lens on color negative film, and I was hanging out of the car window as we were roaring across the back roads of Iowa, and our reporter, Andrew Herman, was driving the car. So it looks like I got most of the spots. Turn it off. There we go, that looks great. So let's see, we're black and white. Let's open up the black and white mixer and see what that does. And that kind of popped it in there. See, it made a nice, rich black and white there. So that looks really good. So let's go over here, add some more contrast, right? So you can see if I go brighter, it makes it darker. If I go lighter, it makes it brighter, because everything is inverse because we're dealing with the negative. We'll bring some texture up, a little bit of clarity, and then a little bit of dehaze. And maybe we'll darken the sky. So same thing here. When we're going to darken the sky, we actually want to tell it to brighten it, because when we're doing it on a negative, see how that darkened it? And then I hit the O key and I could tell what the mask is that we're working on. So I might want to darken it. Again, it's inverse, so I have to brighten it just a little bit more. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to grab a darkened brush. These are brushes that I've made, and it's actually going to brighten up the faces, right? Because it's inverse. Remember, it's inverse. You get the hang of it once you start practicing and using it. All right, there we go. So that looks really good to me. Now we could go anywhere from here, right? Did the color one, cleaned it up. Oh, looks like there's still a spot there. Here's the second one, a virtual copy, where I darkened the sky. And what I was going to do is I was going to see what would it look like if we added some sky to that. I don't know how it would look if we took it into Luminar, because we're putting a digital sky into an analog negative. So I thought we could take a look and see what that is. Oh, Susanna, you don't have any pictures from that day back in Spain? I'll have to pull those up. All right, so I'm going to right click and we're going to edit this into Luminar and see what it's going to do. Not quite sure mixing the medias, mixing analog and mixing digital, how it's going to look. So I thought we'd give that a go. And then this is exactly what I would do with all those other previous photographs and send them to the printer. And we can send this one to the printer as well. So it's going to open up into Luminar. There we go. So we could even see what enhance will do. I don't even know what it'll do. That looks pretty good. Just giving it an enhance right off the bat. You can see some clouds. You do have a lot of texture because this is film. So there's a lot of texture in it. So AI, it has that texture, that grain, that feel. I don't know if that's showing up across the internet. So just try a few different looks. Little haze removal. It kind of does a nice job. Super sharp. Nice. Definitely not soft and airy. Sky enhance. All right, so I'm just going to pick one. And let's bring that back just a little bit. And now let's go in and see what it would look like to replace the sky. So take sky replacement and let's just pick one and see what it does, right? So I'm going to zoom in. It does a pretty good job. It's still allowing the noise and texture to come through. Looks pretty cool. Let's check some other skies, right? This is no longer a photojournalistic photograph. It's something cool that I could put up on the wall. So we're free to edit it any way I see fit. That's kind of cool. That matches pretty good. Sky in the horizon. Luminar is doing a really good job blending it. And you could add your own custom skies in as well. Oh, there you go. It's just some tonality. It's just some texture. I'm going to go with that one. So apply it, bring it back in, and I could send it to the printer and we could see how it turns out. So what I'll be doing is printing it on the Canon Pro 1000 printer. And I have some fine art paper here. This is Canon fine art paper. So we're ready to go. And you can see here, here's the copy stand, the light table goes up and down. And yesterday, the way I had it configured is if you were copying prints or books or materials like that, it has two nice, beautiful LED panels that you could articulate. But I'm actually photographing right from the negative. And this is completely adjustable, right? So if you have 2 1/4 negs, 8x10 negs, and then you get a nice little film holder, pop your negatives in there, and I have film holders for 2 1/4, 6x6, and 35. All right, so let's bring it back over here. We're in the printer. It did a nice job blending it. So let me check one more time for dust, because it'll really pop when we get it in the printer. And I don't see any dust in there. There we go. Looking good. Feel like the shadows are a little bit harsh. I'm just going to brighten their faces just a little bit. So again, I got to use a darkening brush. Oh. Undo that. Well, now that we round tripped it from Luminar, it's back to a normal TIFF file. So now we're using Brighten. So it's not actually working from the negative reverse image. So let's see if we cut that, cool it off just a little bit. That looks good. And I'm going to hit the overlay. And I don't want any haloing, so I'm going to take that off the sky. Make sure, you know, it looks as natural as possible. I hate when you see that hand of God feel in the skies where it's obvious that you've dodged and things have a halo. There we go. Turn the mask off. That looks pretty good. What do you think? Would you take that post out? I think we could. Again, this is going for fine art, wall art print, so I'm cool with removing this. So let's clone this out. Zoom back in, undo that last one. There we go, zoom out. And I think we're good to go. What do you think, Susanna? Want to go riding across Iowa with the Hell's Henchman? All right, so we're going to go Automate, Plug in Extra, and Canon Professional Print and Layout. Oh, great. I got to reinstall it. Always the case. Got to check these things before you go live. Try one more time. It's not there. So let's see if the other print plugin is there. Print Studio Pro, and that's not there. All right, well, I'm not going to make you sit through me going to Canon and downloading the plugin unless you want to. So let me do this. Let's see, Canon. Always got to do stuff, right? support and service, my printers. Gotta find the right printer here. So I'm going to have to find my drivers. The Pro 1000. What's the software I want to get? I want to get Print Studio, Professional Print and Layout. Always the case. David, the video, oh, the video ended. You would love to see them from that day. Dory, would you mind sharing the shortcut key you use to show all the grain in dust? Yeah, sure. So let me pop back over to Lightroom. So yeah, it's still live, David. Still going live. So when you're in Lightroom and you want to pull up your retouching key, right? So that's Q. And down here it says visual spots. The A key activates that. And when you're in visual spots, then it turns it into this negative line art type of photograph. And then here you could see all the dust and all the spots. And that works on everything. So the A is the quick key to get to that. And Q is your quick key to pull up your clone and heal brush. So I hope that helps. So let me get back over and see, where's the download? You're welcome. Ah, man. Okay, products. Canon printers. Where's printers? Large format printers. Here we go. Professional inkjet printers. Pro 1000. Nope, that's Pro 100, Pro 10, Pro 1000. Here we go. Because I just did an update. Software. Here we go. Download and reinstall it. I'll quit Lightroom. And Lightroom used to automatically find your backups from the Lightroom catalog that you opened, but it doesn't. So that's something to be aware of if you're working on something like this and you were working on a previous Lightroom catalog. You got to navigate to it because otherwise it'll put the backups in the wrong Lightroom catalog. All right, backing it up. And I will launch. Opening up the installer. and I'll get that going in. Let that backup finish up first, and then we'll install it right over. Let's see, can I? There you go. Continue here. I'll quit that. Get this installed. Okay, let's relaunch Lightroom. Now we could send it off to the printer. I just find it easier using Canon's printer interface than printing from Lightroom. And I'll give you an overview here. Turn on the overview camera. So I will check off. We're going to go to the Pro 1000. There we go. Pick the right paper. It's not plain paper. Heavyweight fine art. Good, good, good. Center, one slot. Excellent. I'll pick the ICC profile. We have all the profiles here. Canon Pro 1000. Pro 1000 heavyweight smooth. There we go. And then we'll check between perceptual and relative, see which one looks best. Go relative, and we'll hit print. And because it's fine art, I will have to stick it in the back feed. Of course. Have to re-add the printer. All right. Nothing but challenges. That's all right. We'll delete the Pro 1000. Take a second to re-add it in. Add printer. Tell it to find it. There's our Pro 1000. once it's done, I'll add the printer in and finally be able to get the print. I just did all this a week ago, but I had an update. So of course, whenever you do an update, everything gets changed. So let me know if you have any questions, pop them there in the feed. Let's see, we're gonna go Pro 1000, paper, alignment, we want that centered. (17 by 22). Just checking all my settings here. All right, should do it. And now we'll print. Hopefully, cross your fingers. Looks like this time it's going through. Sorry, this is kind of a longer and more tedious process, but you get the idea. While that's going to the printer, let me do one more overview. In recap, here's what we got going on is we are copying. Let me just get to the camera. We are copying color negatives, a bunch of color negs, right? These are from 1990. Get it on the light table. Here is a nice high quality CRI light table. I've got a couple books underneath it just to raise it up so it makes it more convenient. Pick our frame. Check it for dust with the loop. And then we'll put it down here and realign everything. Now, one of the things that I found very helpful is to start off in autofocus and then put on the focus aid, because it doesn't always focus really, really well on the negative, because the negative has kind of a rise to it sometimes. So what I'm doing is I'm getting it right in line, and then I will zoom in on it and check focus. And then I'll lock the focus, and then we'll use the cable release, take a frame, right? And then those frames, let me feed the paper in. Check the printer out here. Oh man, it's just a hot mess going today. It's sending it. Right, so that's printing. So we've got the negative, we've captured it. I'll take that and then I'll import it with Photo Mechanic. I'll caption it, keyword it, put all that information on, and then I will bring it into Lightroom, where once we're in Lightroom, got a lot of gremlins going on. Once it's in Lightroom, what we do is we first take a color balance of the negative's edge. So let's pick a different frame. I'll go to all photographs. And let's just take, let's see, choose something that's color chrome. Here we could do this one of Elton John. So what we do is I take the color picker right in the edge here. It's not in the frame, but it's in the border. That neutralizes it. Then I launch color negative, and then we're going to choose Frontier for color, and then we just say convert. Before I do convert negative, I'm going to crop it to make sure. Let me get the desktop back up for you. Sorry about that. Crop it so that we get rid of those edges. There we go. Crop it. Now launch color negative, Negative Lab Pro, convert. That brings it up. Oh, I did it in black and white. I didn't want to do it in black and white. Cancel. All right. Launch color negative, Frontier, convert negative. I could already see dust. And what's going on with the printer? There you go, printer, feeding you. All right, so that gives us a really nice neutral photo. It's a little bit cool. I'll warm it up. A little too magenta, maybe? No? Maybe stick with neutral. That works. And again, we could try different profiles. That looks more natural. And we'll leave that. We'll apply it, bring it into Lightroom. Again, first thing I check for is dust. So I open up the healing brush, hit the A key, and you can see there is some dust. Not bad. Just that one piece. That's awesome. Go back. And now I'll just brighten it up a little bit. Give it some contrast. Maybe a little bit more warmth. There we go. And this is Elton John, circa like 1992. So did a lot of concerts back then, so it's good to go. That's ready to print, right? We'll just send it out. The printer is running, so we'll go to this live camera. Oh, let's go to the camera. It doesn't like, I have a hard time with the Blackmagic and the R5s. So let me put it in. There we go. That's better. Very cool. All right, so here's the printer. And that photograph is coming out that we worked on of the Hell's Henchmen riding across Iowa. Took long enough, right? All the downloads and drivers and all the gremlins that I could get today were fully involved, fully engaged. Getting ready, we're going to be doing a workshop in Bosque del Apache with Scott Bourne, photographing some sandhill cranes migration. So that's the R5 and the EF 600 V3. And here's the setup. Command Central, right? Here's the copy. So we've got the R5 with the 100 on the light table with the negative, and that everything goes through. Back here, process it, and then here we are coming out of the printer. That guy did a really nice job. David, I know you were messing around with a photograph and you said a friend of yours took your owl and added a sky in the background. I thought that worked out really, really well and improved the visitor that you had in your backyard. So I don't know if you're still on. I know this one got rather lengthy, tedious, and a little bit boring. I apologize for that. So I hope that worked out well for you with your owl. Get back down here. And here's some other photographs that are on our storefront. This is an image from color slide film. Oh, look at that big chunk of dust. Get rid of that. Ah! This is Ektachrome film from the Chicago Air and Water Show, 1989-ish. In fact, there is a picture of me somewhere in here. Where is it? Here. So this is me with the F1, with the goggles. Look at those big glasses I had in the 80s. And that's what I was using to photograph. I had one camera with black and white film in it. And for addition, we didn't even do color negative film back then. It was color slide film. So these are actual black and whites. And these are the slides. So color Ektachrome. Here's a finished file that I worked on. But yeah, I'm hanging out the side of a biplane. It was a lot of fun. And talking to the pilot, and he's directing the rest of the squadron to come into formation so that I could see him. One of the best roller coaster rides I've ever been on. So let's see. David, you're there. Yeah, you used Luminar yourself to add the background. Okay, I thought a friend of yours had it. I got to try the update to Luminar. The AI, that looks just incredible. All right, the print is out. Let's get all official. Got to have the white gloves. All right. Here we go. Boom! Hell's Henchman roaring across Iowa. Fantastic. Man, I can't tell you, I just miss printing. That's beautiful. Love the soft tones on the fine art paper. That's spectacular. Awesome. Very cool. Well, I hope that was worth the tedium and worth hanging around. Let me know if you have any further questions. Drop them in the feed, and we'll get to it from there. Thanks for the hearts. I appreciate it. I will post this to YouTube as well, and you'll be able to fast forward through all the long, boring parts where I had to get the plugin working. David, you're still using the AI version. Is much better. Very cool. Good to know. Shannon Morgan, thank you. Like the process. I may have to find some of my negatives and play around. Yeah, I don't have any problem finding the negatives. You know, it's it's a career of film. So, you know, here, take your pick. Here's files and files and files of film and slides and 2 1/4 and 8x10 and lifelong career. So I just thought I'd go through some of our highlights. They're at the store. A lot of the photographs from the concerts and things have never before been printed or published. So it's pretty cool. All right, folks, thanks again for dropping by. I appreciate it. We'll be doing more of these, so stay connected. Talk to you later.